Welcome back to Hardcore Race Products technical tips videos. Today we're going to show you how to test certain electrical components on your bike so that you can fault find. Okay, there are certain components that you can test yourself with quite a reasonably priced multimeter. This is a professional one, but £20–30 from Halfords, Maplin's, many other places. Any of the auto centres or whatever normally sell a multimeter. So what you want to do is do an ohms test on several parts if you have an electrical problem. Yes, you perhaps haven't got the equipment to test things like your ECUs and so forth, but particularly on a small level 2-stroke and so forth, there's several things that you can test. So quite a simple one. This is a 5000 ohms resistor plug cap. This being a professional unit is designed to take much higher figures, so we're going to have to just work slightly differently with decimal points. But there we go, so we put this in here. As you can see here, we have a figure of 5.11, so that's actually 5110 ohms resistance, which means this cap, it should be as brand spanking new, is working correctly. If it's a much lower figure, you won't actually lose any power, but what you may well do is start to cause an issue with your CDI through RF interference. So you know, it may, if you've got no resistance there at all, then it's broken. If it's sort of halfway, then it's still likely still be working, but you'd also have issues with your CDI being caused by it. So if that was on 0, then you'd know that it was broken because there's no resistance, because there's no connection. Coil unit, again, you're looking in this case of 8000. Put this into here, so you can go on to earth through here, and the other one into the end of the spark plug thing. Spark plug lead, it's not much of a thing, and there we go, we've got 8000. So we know that this is also working correctly, which you should do, it's brand new. If that was down at 500–600 or whatever, then you'd start to have a poor quality spark, giving you either a misfire or a feeling that you'd left the choke on and the bike was running rich, because you'd have a low quality spark that was affected by spark wash or just generally running too rich. So that's how you test that part. Your stator's a little bit more complicated. You have to be a little bit clever about this. In here you have effectively 3 coils. One coil you have is your main power-up coil. Then you've got another coil which changes its voltage as the engine spins faster. That effectively tells the engine how fast your engine is turning, to give you a different level of advance and retard that your ECU can work with, or your CDI. And then you have a pulsar pickup which tells your engine when to spark in relation to the piston at top dead centre. We're going to test the 3 different levels. You're looking at 8, 2.5, so you're looking at 800, 250 and 50. So your main power-up coil, which is the one that which can go, it's the one that normally does pack up. Eventually they all stop running, just like all things, they will eventually stop working, and that's normally the one that you'll put your multimeter on and you'll get nothing, and that's why you haven't got any spark. Pulsar pickups these days, these parts here that decide, or proximity switch, whatever you want to call it, that actually determines where your piston is in relation to top dead centre, so your engine knows when to, your ECU knows when to spark. Now these are ultra reliable. You know, yes, you might have the exception to the rule, but they very rarely go wrong. The other one is the one that determines how fast the engine's turning. They do go sometimes. You'll generally find that your engine won't rev out properly, or the other thing that will happen is you'll have pre-detonation, because as the engine runs faster on a 2-stroke particularly, the engine becomes more retarded in its ignition state. That's how it calculates it through this coil. When that coil packs up, you end up with basically your starter ignition advance, which is quite high. At high engine RPMs, that will cause you pre-detonation. So if you notice your engine's not revving anymore, you end up with the bike running lean and issues, then it may well be those coils. We can work straight off the end of the connector here. Fortunately, they're all married together quite nicely. So the first one on this side here, okay, and you can see the colours of the wires here coming off from the pickups here, so you can see directly which ones are the pulsar pickups. But if, in the case of the KTM 85, if you go from top to bottom, there we go. So that one there, that's the one we're looking at 250. Because of the format of this multimeter, we're looking at 2.728, so it's in a good healthy condition. It's quite cold in here today, so we're actually getting 270. We move on to the next pair here. Ooh. And there we go. We've got our 800 there. So 840, and then the last one here, the little pulsar pickup one. There we go, 0.5, 0.6. So you're looking at 50 effectively, 50 in this case 60. and then you're looking at 800 odd. Again, it's quite cold in here, so there we go, just over. And this one here. So the first one here that we're looking at there is, on most multimeters you'll see that figure actually coming up as 270 in this case, but 240 and above is fine. That's the coils that actually determine the advance and retard on the ignition, so that's telling your engine how fast you're going, how fast it's rotating. That one there is your main pickup coil, that's your main, your voltage coils. So that's producing all the power to go to the coil to produce the spark. That's in there at 840 on most multimeters. Again, if that was down 500-600, you'd start to have issues. And then you've got this one here, which is your pulsar pickup, which again, there we go, 50, in this case 0.06, but sort of 50 is a normal reading that you'd expect to see. The one that normally plays up is this middle one here. If you go to those and you've got nothing, that's why you haven't got a spark. So there we go, we've tested the three there. There are other forms of ignitions around. This is the most common format. All the Yamaha 125s, your KTM 125s, all the others, they all run on this 3 coil basis. So you've got your pulsar pickup to tell you where your piston is in relation to top dead centre. You've got another set of coil, this coil here, which then tells you how it tells the engine, or the ECU if you like, how quickly the engine is turning over. And then you've got these 3 coils here producing the electricity to actually generate the spark and run the ECU. So there we go, hopefully you'll go and buy yourself one of these units. They're not a lot of money, 20-30 pounds maybe, and then what you want to do is go home and test these components and write them down, and then you know what this should be. And then if you find that you go back to it, you're having running problems and so forth, and there's a large variation from what your original test was, then you know that that's where your issues lie. So that's Stators for today.